That killed me? That's so dumb. Man, due to the coronavirus, I had to stay at home all day and there's nothing to do but play PS4 games. And the graphics are only decent. And I can't edit or use it as a workstation either. If only someone could make a $500 computer build that can work as a workstation and a blazing fast gaming system. Heidi ho everybody, I am SweetLady82, welcome to the channel. If you're here for the $500 build and you're questioning, wow, how can this $500 build be so godly? How can it compete even with $1,000 pre-built computers? Well, first off, because $1,000 pre-built computers are garbage, you should not build pre-builds, you should just build your own computer. It's really not that hard, just search a YouTube tutorial, trust me. And second off, that's the point of this video, just wait for it. You impatient piece of human garbage! There are two shining stars of the system that are by far the brightest part of it. The first, and by far the best, being the MSI Armor MK2 RX 580 8GB Overclocked Edition. With this puppy, you can run 1080p at all high settings, max everything. Or you can get it to entry 1440 or even entry 4K. And you can do VR with this puppy. You can do anything with it. And for the price that retail is $250. So you may be asking, well, how'd you get it in a $500 build then? Well, I bought it used off of eBay. Now, before you click off, trust me, there's a good reason. So you remember Bitcoin, right? Of course you do. Everyone remembers Bitcoin. Because of that, a lot of people bought graphics cards because it was a very effective way to mine Bitcoin. And so when Bitcoin fell, a lot of people had graphics cards that they could do nothing with, so they started selling them. And to this day, there's still a lot of really cheap graphics cards on the market. So on eBay, you can find a lot of really quality, good condition RX 580s for around $110 to $140, which is what I suggest. Now, of course, if you really just can't go with used parts, then you can get a new graphics card for like 140 and like a 4 gig one. And you'll have perfectly adequate performance, but it will be nowhere near that card. So if you really want the best performance, you gotta trust the used market, man, and get an RX 580. Just trust me on this one. The second shining star, or the runner-up of this system, is the Ryzen 5 1600 AF. Make sure you take note of that AF part. That's the important part. A 1600 AF is basically a 2600 in disguise, but for what? $30 less? So for $30, getting very slight speed increase in your clocks isn't really worth it. And especially because we're overclocking this chip anyways, because AMD can overclock like freaking biscuits and gravy. It's not worth it to buy 2600 and instead go for this, especially if you're being budget friendly. Now, of course, AMD processors love fast RAM. So, you know, I had to go with the G-Skill Ripjaw 16 gig kit at 3200 speed. Now, to be honest, you should probably get 3600 speed, but since we're overclocking, 3200 should be more than fine. That's just my bad because I was dumb and didn't realize there was only like a 5 price difference between the two. So yeah, definitely go for the 3600 speed, not 3200 speed. But besides that, it's still a really good kit of RAM and will definitely give your AMD the blazing fast speeds, baby. Now, talking about blazing fast, I have to talk about that NVMe M.2 SSD. 500 gigs, while not being a lot, is more than adequate. And given that I got it for like $70, it's insanely fast and will run Windows and basically any game you want on it like that. Snap your fingers faster than Thanos, baby. Is incredible. But of course, after installing Windows, you're only gonna have like 480 usable space, and if you're playing a lot of games, that's not that much storage. So what you can do is with this motherboard, you can connect a SATA drive, or basically a hard drive or a SSD, but not an NVMe one. Personally, I would go with a 2 terabyte Barracuda hard drive. You can get them for like $60-70, and for 2 terabytes, you'll be perfectly fine for basically any normal person. But now, what motherboard did I go with? Because of course, you need a good motherboard to overclock. Well, personally, I went with the ASRock B450 Pro 4. This is more than adequate to overclock with what the specs I'm running with, and honestly, will let you upgrade far into the future. If you even wanted to, you could probably slap a Ryzen 7 2600X in this puppy, 2700X in this puppy, and you'll be perfectly fine. Now, you can go with something like a B450 Tomahawk if you want to. That is a better motherboard and gives you more upgrade in the future, but this should be perfectly fine for now and for quite a decent bit of time. But for all these parts, they must require a lot of power, right? Well, yeah, but that's all right because I got the Corsair 750X 80 plus gold power supply modular. Ooh, modular gets you excited, don't it? However, that's another used part I got refurbished off of Amazon. I got mine for $60 and the retail is usually $120. So don't go with this power supply for this build. Obviously, you won't even be able to put it in the budget. What I suggest is like a 450 power supply, a 550 power supply, and you'd be perfectly fine. Or you can search for what I got too and try to find a used one. Though I don't think you'll get one as good as a price, you can still look. And with the 450 and a 550 power supply, as long as it's 80 plus bronze, you'll be fine to upgrade far into the future too. Well, not that far, but decently into the future. Now, with all this power, you may think, wow, that's a really good system. You must be proud. No, it's not fast enough. That's why we're overclocking, baby. It's never enough. It's never fast enough. So we gotta push it to the limit.
Okay, so basically for overclocking, once you get into this menu, for this specific motherboard, you simply press F2, bam, you get into the overclock menu, right? All right, this tells you everything. Shut up! Shut up! Okay, cool. This tells you everything you need to know. Everything's reading correctly. Okay, cool. I've already done some tweaks here. As you can see, I've pumped the frequency of the megahertz of the CPU to 3400. I put the volts up a bit. And I also put the RAM to 3200 right here, so we can actually read at 3200 and use it as 3200. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. You just go and you adjust it, make sure it's stable. If you like adjust this, and then you try to start your computer and it doesn't start, then you're gonna have to go back in here and lower everything, lower voltages, shit like that, so that you can actually get your computer to well run. Then you just go to exit, save changes and exit, yes, and then give some time, you gotta let it go for a bit. See, here it is again. This is where you would press F2 to overclock. But this time, because you already put in the overclock, it already booted, you just let it go. Wait for everything to go in. There's your Windows. By the way, this is the NVMe SSD doing its work. Look how fast Windows loads up. Look at that. Look at that. Magic. Like freaking magic. And then look, everything. All right. It takes like, I'd say usually 10 to 20 seconds for everything to load in. This MSI Afterburner, just Google it. There's a download link. It's easy to find. This is how you overclock your GPU. Now, of course, there is something, it's known as a silicon lottery. Basically, cards are made from silicon, and that silicon can, like, the overclock you can get from it depends on how good your silicon is, and that's just based on like completely random, pretty much. Personally, I put my power up by 10 for my GPU, and I was able to get a core clock of 1425, which usually this card runs at 1366, and a memory clock of 2041, and this card usually runs at just 2K on the dot. Then you click right here. So make sure you click right here, because now you're gonna have to do this every single time you start your system. This will just do it so it's automatically, when you start your system, it will just automatically be with this overclock. Now make sure, again, go to this, and if you put it too high, if you put it really high and then you try to start a game and it crashes, chances are your system can't run that. So basically what you do is you just put it lower, try again, and you keep doing that, rinse and repeat until you get it to work. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the overclock, really. Just make sure you don't put it to insane levels just because, like, wow, I want to push it all to the max. Yeah, maybe you will have it to the max, and maybe you can get this, maybe even to 1500, maybe even 1600 if you're super stupid lucky with your silicon. But at those levels, it's gonna burn out in about a month or two, so yeah, don't do that. And just, 1425 should be a reasonable level to overclock to. Yeah, so it's overclock.
Okay, now before I get into the benchmarks, the price listing, and how much money I saved going used, which I know you want to get into all that good jazz, there is one caveat. Make sure you have a 16 gig or more USB to install Windows on this, because this has no operating system, and obviously you need an operating system. And you can get it free online. You just need to Google it. Then you install it on your computer. Easy. You have the free version, but you can upgrade it easily using an eBay listing I have below. It worked fine for me. I bought it, and now I have Windows 10 Pro on my device. It was only $3. So yeah, just do that and you'll be fine. I'll put a video description below to teach you how, and it's really easy. It's not really hard. Anyways, let's get to the fun part. All right, so here's the PC part picker list. For some reason, they don't have the AMD Ryzen 5 1600 AF. I don't know why, but so we have the 2600. Obviously, this is not the right part. The B450 Pro 4 G-Skill Rip Series, yep, 3200. You can go 3600. I suggest 3600, but 3200 is fine. Western Digital, 500 gigs. MSI RX 580, see, 240 retail. Corsair RMX, the 750 watt that I went with, see, it's like 135 retail. So yeah, don't go with like a 450 watt, 550 watt, you'll be fine. However, here is what I spent. For the Ryzen 5 1600 AF, I spent 90 bucks. For the B450 Pro 4, 80, same thing. Rip job, basically the same thing. WD, same thing. The RX 580, 130. I saved basically $110 for buying it pre-owned. Like, you can't beat the price, man. You just can't. And there's so many of them. It's not like one. It's not like I got lucky. There's a ton of these on the market there, dude. And not even just RX 580s, just a lot of 8 gig cards that are incredible. Along with this, the Corsair, I personally got mine for $55. It was renewed. It was fine. So in total, I spent basically 500 bucks. I saved $222 compared to this setup. So going used is definitely cost efficient, especially if you are on a budget, man. You can't beat the price. You can't beat the outcome, and this just proves it to you, buddy. Let's get into now that we got the price, let's get into the benchmarks, boys. So that's pretty much it. This is my $500 build, and it works perfectly fine. Now, some of you may be asking, well, there's no case or fans here. Well, yeah, that's because I'm leaving it to your discretion. Really, the case is up to what you want, what your style is. And I'd say if you're gonna get a case and some decent fans, tack on $60 to $80 onto this price. Second off, to actually overclock the machine, you're gonna need a better CPU cooler. That AMD CPU cooler is perfectly adequate, but for only base overclocking, it's not gonna get you very far. And you'll probably need another overclocking cooler, or else you're just gonna fry your goddamn CPU, which obviously is something you don't wanna do. So what you're gonna need to do is you're gonna buy like a $30 one. You can find them online, you'll be fine. So go out and build one while you're stuck at home doing nothing for quarantine. Or if not, well, just drop a like because I'm desperate, please. Okay, that's it, bye-bye.